When the season started, I looked at every team's player with the most to prove. Now that the season is just about over, we can tell who answered the call and who left us disappointed once again. Let's go over my preseason picks and see how each player did. Arizona Diamondbacks, Kyle Lewis. After winning Rookie of the Year in 2020, it's been nothing but injuries and options down to AAA. With a new team, this was his chance to revitalize his career. He made the opening day roster as their leadoff hitter, but he hasn't been able to spend more than a week at a time at the major league level. He's had 3 short stints this year, 16 games, 157 average, 459 OPS, but he's played 61 games in the minors, playing very well. Atlanta Braves, Ian Anderson. After being a key part of the Braves playoff runs in 2020 and 2021, he was terrible in 2022. He didn't make the opening day roster out of spring training, and shortly after the season started, he had Tommy John surgery. He didn't pitch for the Braves at all this year. Baltimore Orioles, Adam Frazier. He was an all-star just 2 years ago, but his time in San Diego and Seattle was not good. He landed a 1-year deal with Baltimore, and it's been a big improvement. Still not great, but getting very close to league average. 129 games, 246 average. He got his power stroke back, hitting 13 home runs after just 3 last year. His OPS is up 100 points, so overall, it was a step in the right direction. Boston Red Sox, Alex Verdugo. As a replacement for Mookie Betts, people were starting to ask when this big prospect, but so far average player was going to take his game to the next level. It appears 2023 has been more of the same. This year's stats are very similar to last year's stats, once again playing at a level just above average, so not bad, but still underperforming. Chicago Cubs, Cody Bellinger. I don't think any player on this list had more to prove in 2023, and no player on the list has done more to prove himself. Average up over 100 points, OPS up 250 points, slugging 542. That was his exact OPS in 2021, almost cut his strikeouts in half. Bellinger is back, playing at an all-star level, and should get some MVP votes. Cincinnati Reds, Nick Senzel. He was the number 2 pick of the 2016 draft, and he hasn't played that much, and when he hasn't been that good. This year has been a step in the right direction. His average is about the same, but his OPS has jumped 76 points. He's hitting for more power, more than doubling last year's home run total. He's getting closer to league average. Still not where he wants to be for his age 28 season, but at least not going backwards. Cleveland Guardians, Mike Zunino. He was an all-star in 2021, hitting 33 home runs. Then he had an injury-shortened 2022 with terrible stats, so he signs with the Guardians and it doesn't get any better. 42 games, 177 average, 3 homers, 11 RBI, 577 OPS, and he was released on June 21st. He didn't re-sign with any other team. Colorado Rockies, Cole Tucker. This former first-round pick never caught on with the Pirates. Arizona picked him up, but he never made their roster, so he signed on with the Rockies. He did get to play in 5 games, and in his 8 at-bats, he got 4 hits. He spent most of the year in AAA Albuquerque. 70 games, 280 average, 798 OPS. Chicago White Sox, Mike Clevinger. He came back from Tommy John in 2022, and he was bad. He had to prove himself in 2023, his contract having a mutual option coming up. He's put in the same amount of work as he did last year, but dropped his ERA 72 points to 361. He has re-established himself as a well above average pitcher. Detroit Tigers, Jonathan Schoop. This was his contract year and coming off a terrible 2022 season. Through 55 games, it was more of the same. 213 average, 550 OPS, and the Tigers released him right before the All-Star break. Not a good way to enter free agency. Houston Astros, Luis Garcia. I was mainly worried about him because he had to change his windup. With the new rules, he wasn't allowed to do his salsa dance that took forever. It really didn't come into play. He only made 6 starts, had an ERA of 4, and on May 5th, the team announced he would have Tommy John surgery. Kansas City Royals, Aroldis Chapman. He's been so good for so long, but he fell out of favor with the Yankees, and he resurfaced on a 1-year deal in Kansas City. Of course, he wasn't going to stay there. He was dealt midseason to the Rangers. He has 320 saves in his career, but only 5 this year. Still, he's brought his ERA back under 3 for the first time since 2019, and he should find work in 2024. Los Angeles Angels, Anthony Rendon. This has been a disaster contract ever since 2020. Coming into this season, it was ugly. Now it's even worse. The last 2 years, he couldn't stay on the field, and this year, he played a career-low 43 games. Only 2 homers, 22 RBI, a career-low 678 OPS. Just more of the same for this terrible free agent signing. Los Angeles Dodgers, Shelby Miller. He's been an injury mess ever since 2016, but he got a 1-year deal with the Dodgers and he was out to prove himself. He did miss more than 2 months on the IL, but he's appeared in 31 games, 36 innings, and a 2 ERA. All in all, I think he's pretty happy with this season. Miami Marlins, Matt Barnes. After making the All-Star team in 2021, his second half that year was terrible. He was injured a lot in 2022, and the Red Sox sent him to the Marlins. This was his contract year, and he appeared in 24 games with a 5.48 ERA. Just before the All-Star break, he went down with hip surgery, out for the season. Milwaukee Brewers, Luke Voigt. He's bounced around so much ever since he led the majors in home runs in 2020. He got a major league contract with Milwaukee, but he didn't prove anything this year. 22 games, 221 average, and most importantly, no home runs. He needs that pop to stay relevant. Milwaukee released him on June 2nd. He got picked up by the Mets, played in their minor league system, and got released from them also. Minnesota Twins, Joey Gallo. After being an all-star caliber player in Texas, he was pretty miserable in New York and LA. I thought maybe he can find his old form in Minnesota, and I'm not sure what to think. He's still only a 177 hitter, but his OPS is up at 741, OPS plus back to league average. He still hit 21 home runs, so he's not great, but he can still find work doing this. New York Mets, Tommy Pham. Coming off a bad 2022 in Boston, he got a one-year deal with the Mets, and he's having his best season in 4 years. He had a very good 79-game run with the Mets, then got traded to Arizona, and he's kept on going. Average up 30 points, OPS up 120 points. He's been able to stay on the field. He should be able to turn this into a nice short-term contract. New York Yankees, Aaron Hicks. I said the Yankees wouldn't put up with him much longer, and I was right. After 28 games, he was only hitting 188 and the Yankees cut ties. He landed in Baltimore and he's been reborn. In 54 games, he's brought his average up 100 points, 7 home runs, playing at an all-star level once again. Maybe he just needed to get out of New York. Oakland A's, Jesus Aguilar. He got a one-year deal with the A's, and I said, I bet he ends the year with another team. That turned out to be true, but not what I thought. He played 36 games, hit 221, 5 homers, 666 OPS, and the A's released him. Now he's on the Braves, but he's in their minor league system and has not helped them in their postseason run. Philadelphia Phillies, Derek Hall. After the Rhys Hoskins injury, and with Bryce Harper unable to play the field when the season started, this was a prime opportunity for Derek Hall to prove himself. He was on the opening day roster batting cleanup. The year was a flop. He played 18 games, hit 167, 1 homer, 3 RBI, 437 OPS. He hurt his thumb during a slide and landed on the IL for 2 months, and when he came back, he was sent to AAA. Pittsburgh Pirates, Bryan Reynolds. I was curious to see what kind of player Bryan Reynolds wanted to be. In 2022, he seemed to value more power and less contact. This year, it's kind of inconclusive. Average and OPS are about the same. Home runs are a bit down, but so are strikeouts. I don't know what to make of it, but he's still been a very good player, and that's all that matters. San Diego Padres, David Dahl. After having some really good seasons in Colorado, his career took a nosedive. He made his way back to the majors for the first time since 2021, but only lasted 4 games, got 1 hit and 9 at-bats, and got sent back down to the minors. He chose free agency instead of being designated for assignment, and he's played the rest of his season with the Oklahoma City Dodgers. 52 games and an 859 OPS. Seattle Mariners, Jared Kelenic. Another high draft pick that, over his first 2 years, just has nothing going on. In his 3rd year, something finally clicked. He brought his average up 100 points, OPS over 200 points. He's hitting home runs, stealing bases, and aside from his IL stint from kicking a water cooler, he's been on the field, and for the first time in his career, he's been an above-average player. San Francisco Giants, Joey Bart. The heir apparent to Buster Posey. I think it's safe to say that as of now, he's been a big bust. This year has been miserable. Just 30 games, 207 average, no home runs, 528 OPS. He landed on the IL in mid-May, and when he came back, he was sent down to AAA until early September. This has not been the breakout season he needed. St. Louis Cardinals, Tyler O'Neill. After a great 2021, he had a terrible 2022 and signed a $4.95 million deal in 2023 to avoid arbitration. Unfortunately for him, this year looks a lot like the last. He missed a lot of time with a lower back strain, putting in less than half a season. His average in OPS only slightly better than last year's. That does not bode well for free agency. Tampa Bay Rays, Brandon Lowe. From an MVP candidate to an injury-riddled 2022, I wanted to see if Lowe could rebound to his old form. He did miss a month in the first half, but has put in otherwise a complete season. This year has really split the difference. Not an MVP candidate, but not bad either. 232 average, 20 homers, 767 OPS. Texas Rangers, Jacob deGrom. Not a lot to prove for this 2-time Cy Young winner, but he's been injured so much it's just become what he's known for. After signing a 5-year, $185 million deal with Texas, he needed to prove he could stay on the mound. Well, he started 6 games. He He was very good with a 2.67 ERA, but on June 6, the team announced he was going down for Tommy John. It was exactly what everyone was afraid of. Toronto Blue Jays, Hyun-Jin Ryu. This is his contract year, and coming off Tommy John, it's tough to come back and jump right back into it. He had that surgery in June 2022, but didn't make it back to the Blue Jays until August 1st, 2023. That's well over 13 months away from the majors, so he's only put in 8 starts, 40 innings, but a 2.93 ERA. Maybe he gets a short-term deal for a team that believes he's back and healthy. Washington Nationals, Patrick Corbin. I'll give him one thing. In an era where pitchers are always getting hurt, he's always putting in a full season. 2023 is no different, but unfortunately for him, it's been another bad one. He's got a 5.13 ERA, and it doesn't seem like he's back on the road to being an all-star. That's all for this video. Let me know what you think. If you agree or disagree with any of my points, if I missed anything that should have been mentioned, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. And if you're new here and want to see more content like this, please give me a sub. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.